Hi. Curiosity is a really important part of education. We learn by asking questions and then by being curious enough and motivated enough to seek out answers to those questions. So learning how to ask good questions is really valuable. It's a good skill. And in a few minutes, you are going to be coming up with some questions about The Alchemist. But before you do that, I want to talk to you about the kinds of questions that I want you to be asking. There are 3 levels of questions, and you'll see these levels in the assignment that you will be using to come up with questions. Level 1 is factual questions. Those are questions where the answer is a fact. It can be stated in a word or just a few words. And if it's a question about a story, like The Alchemist, the answer is right there in the text. So, for example, what is the name of the shepherd who is the main character in this story? Answer, Santiago. It's a simple answer. It's either right or wrong. It's in the text. Most of my quiz questions are that kind of question, factual questions. But for discussions, like the ones that you will be having tomorrow, those are not very useful questions because it's over really fast. Level 2 questions are better for discussions. Level 2 questions are called inferential questions. That means a person has to infer the answer. Infer means to guess based on evidence or information. So, for example, if I am driving and I notice that the car ahead of me is weaving back and forth a little bit, I might have some guesses about what's happening. I might infer that the person driving is intoxicated, or that the person driving is texting, or something like that. And I could be right or wrong, because an inference is a guess, but it's based on information. So inferential questions about a story are questions where the answer is not directly there in the text. We have to use the information in the text to try to come up with what we think is the most reasonable answer. So to use the story Peter 2 as an example, an inferential question would be, why doesn't Peter let Mrs. Chalmers through the door? Why does he chicken out? The story doesn't tell us. There's evidence in there that we can use to make an inference, to make a guess and support it. That's an inferential question. It's about the text. There's evidence in the text, but not a direct answer. And those questions are good for discussion. Probably even better for discussions are level 3 questions. Level 3 questions are called extrapolatory. Big word, huh? That's because we extrapolate. To extrapolate is to go beyond what's there. We do this in math, for instance. If you are given 2 or 3 points, you plot them on a graph, you can see where the trend is going. You can extrapolate from those points and fill in the rest of the graph. With a story, we can extrapolate from the story to the world at large. So extrapolatory questions start with the story, but they are really questions about life in general. For example, if I wanted to ask an extrapolatory question about The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost, it might be something like, what kind of decisions in our lives have the kinds of long-term consequences that Frost is talking about in this poem? So the question begins with the poem, but it ends up being about us and life, and it's bigger than the poem. We extrapolate from the poem. Those are the 3 levels of questions. Those are the kinds of questions you're going to be asking about The Alchemist today in writing, and then discussing tomorrow in a group. And I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for listening.